Good morning. I am Lindsay Trumbull with the Iowa Center for Economic Success, and I am here at Feather Your Nest Interiors in downtown Muscatine, Iowa. We've got a special guest today to discuss the process of creating your own brick and mortar retail location. Fortunately for us, Alyshea here has plenty of experience in that regard, so I'm going to turn this over to her. If you've got questions as we work through the webinar, please feel free to throw those into the chat function on your screen, and we will kind of try to make this as interactive as we can. So please feel free to engage with us as we get through the presentation. And also, I'd like you to go ahead and throw up your name, your business, and your websites into the chat function as well, so we can kind of all introduce ourselves. So I'm going to turn it over now to Alyshea. Alyshea?
Hey, thanks, Lindsay. I'm super excited to be here today. I'm looking forward to giving you this presentation on crossing the bridge to brick and mortar. And I really appreciate all of you tuning in here in store and online to listen to what some of my advice is for you. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Should we?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead next. So I thought the planning process has always kind of been the same thing for owning your own business and being an entrepreneur. First, everything starts with a dream. We all have dreams. We all have desires, things that we want to accomplish in life. And from that dream, I design all of my store and my clients' projects and all of that because I am an interior designer and also an entrepreneur. And then from there, we build it, we make it happen. And so this is kind of the process on how you go from not only renting your own space to begin with when you're a new entrepreneur, but also getting into owning your own building and seeing how long that takes for you and making it come to fruition. So we'll go ahead and go on to the next slide, please. So the initial dream for Feather Your Nest Interiors here in Muscatine started in 2010 by actually my parents, Sharon and Dennis. It was their dream to start a small business such as ours. And they started with just furniture and accessories. And my mom was actually an upholsterer for my whole life growing up. And she wanted to have a small retail space. It was her dream, her desire to do that. And so in 2010, they decided to start looking for space to rent in downtown Muscatine because they knew they wanted to be downtown. And they found a spot. And the initial space was only about 1,500 square foot. They were only paying about $800 a month. They got their first 3 months free for doing all the cleaning up of the building, designing it themselves, carpeting it themselves, doing some of the basic things to be able to get into the space that the landlord didn't have to pay for, which was really great. He actually gave them a good deal to make sure that they had everything they needed to start their small business. They did initially borrow a small loan to get their first inventory into the store. And then they lived off of their personal savings for about the first 8 months to make sure that they had enough business or enough income to keep the business running. And there are a lot of sacrifices that you have to make when starting a small business. Sometimes you don't get a paycheck for a while or months at a time. But most of the time, you got to start small. And so they didn't want to get in over their heads with how much space they had. As space became available to them over the years, as some of the other small businesses around them either closed or moved or things like that, they decided to expand a little bit at a time into other buildings that were connected to their building, to their main building. And the landlord was great to work with. He put beautiful arches between the spaces, and we were able to connect into more storefront and get more square footage for our small business. And over the years, our business changed. We were able to expand our offerings and not only do upholstery, but also get into more lines of like kitchen accessories, and then also start doing fabric sales and draperies and window treatments, all things that were part of the demand that we were seeing from our clientele that were coming in the door and asking us, well, what else can you do besides furniture and upholstery and accessories? So that was great. So then by 2015, we had 3 connected storefronts at the other end of 2nd Street in Muscatine. And then by 2017, we added the 4th storefront, which was as large as we were down there on that end of the block. And then in 2017, my parents actually decided too that they wanted to retire. And that is when they sold the business to me. And I am now the 2nd generation owner of Feather Your Nest. And so they started their dream and worked at it really hard for 7 years to build up the clientele and to be able to do things to help benefit our community. And they were happy to pass along the baton to me. So then I worked at that location for an additional 3 to 4 years. And over that time, I saved a lot of money because I wanted to make sure that I could eventually expand the business by moving it and buying my own building. So in 2020, I started to look for a building to buy because that was my dream. So their dream was to have a cool little furniture store and a retail space. And my dream, after being with the business for 10 years, was to own the building we were in so that as an interior designer, I could do what I wanted to do to the building, change it, design it, make it as cool as I wanted it, you know, that sort of stuff. So that was my dream. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So to continue that dream, in 2021, actually the beginning part of 2021, I actually had worked with a realtor to start looking for real estate. And I found an older building downtown that I wanted to buy. And I thought it looked great. It had the right amount of space for me. And we had put an offer in on it. And unfortunately, we didn't get it. So the offer did not go through. So after that point, I kind of just said, well, it'll be what it'll be. Like I said, we looked all around town. We went and anything that was for sale that was a commercial building all around our city, we looked at and we debated on whether or not it was the right location, you know, what the rent would be or how much our mortgage would be, excuse me, that sort of stuff. And if how much work would need to be done to it once we purchased it, how much of a loan would we have to take out just to make a move happen. So we kept searching and looking, and I kept networking. I networked a lot. I talked to a lot of people. I'm talking to a lot of people most days anyways with what I do for a living, but I was talking to everybody I know about the fact that I was starting to look for a new building, starting to look for a building to buy. I actually even talked to my current landowner or landlord, excuse me, and talked to him about the fact that I wanted to buy a building. He did make me an offer for the building I was in, but it was not within a price that I wanted to take on at that time. So I declined that and kept looking. I did find out then the building that I'm currently in, who the owners were, by networking and running into a person that actually worked for the guy that owned the building that I bought. So when I talked to that person, I made an offer and we did a little bit of negotiating and it happened. So I didn't use a realtor for that because I knew the owner personally. I made contact with the bank and figured out some funding, how I could get a mortgage, that sort of stuff. I researched city and state grants to figure out if there were other funding sources besides typical lending sources. And that's kind of how the ball started. So go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So when I looked at this building initially, it is a 3-story, 4,000 per square foot per floor building. So it's a 12,000 square foot building. And it is quite, was quite an undertaking, put it that way. I kind of had a vision for the space. The building itself is very long and linear. It's not wide, it's long. It is the length of a city block. It was separated into two different storefronts. When I looked at it, two different sides of the building. It required a lot of work, but the potential that I saw in it was it had these absolutely beautiful original tin ceilings that are about 15 foot high on the main floor. And so I saw great potential with this building. It actually was a building that I felt could serve me very well for being an interior designer and being able to showcase what I do for a living. And also it was a great experience to update and renovate a historical building in downtown. It was a lot of work, not for the faint of heart. You have to put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. I think every night, pretty much, we bought the building in August or closed on it at the end of August in 2021. And we had to be out of our current lease space by the end of December 2021. So we had 4 months to completely gut and remodel our 4,000 square foot main floor of the building. So we worked every night, and as in we, I meant my husband, my children, me, our family members that could help out. And then we did hire contractors to do the main stuff, the plumbers, the electricians, a contractor to put the front facade on, windows, that sort of stuff. But all of the inside stuff that we could do, we did. And every night and every weekend for 4 months straight, we were here. So, owning your own building is wonderful, but it does take a lot of your time and does take a lot of sweat and tears, I guess, is the right choice. But the cool thing about it is now I am in full control of my destiny and my business future, because I can do whatever I want now to the building. If I wanted to expand and maybe take some portion of my business to the second floor, I could. I do use the basement of the building for extra storage, and I can rent out some of it if need be. So I do have a lot more control over my business's future and actually our cash flow because of that. It also helped improve a historical downtown building, which was great because this building prior to me had sat pretty much untouched for, I would say, a good 20 years prior to me owning it. So it was a great thing to do. And it helped gain a lot of trust and confidence with other people in the community and other small businesses as well, to see the success that I was having and how I was able to do it and complete it so quickly and make it look beautiful so that it's appeasing to everybody coming in the door. Next slide, please. So like I said, we renovated the main floor in 4 months, and I wanted to include a little bit of the information that it took for me to be able to do this. I did apply for a forgivable loan through the city of Muscatine, and I received a $35,000 forgivable loan. I did get a $50,000 loan for renovations that were at a lower fixed rate. But I was able to pay that off within the first year of being open, because as a small business owner, my cash flow, I wanted to make sure I didn't have a lot of debt. I'm not big on owing a lot of money to people or businesses or institutions or anything like that. So I wanted to pay it off very quickly. So my mortgage is a 5-year fixed rate with a 20-year arm. And my very aggressive goal is to have the mortgage paid off within the first 5 years so that my interest rate doesn't change, because I did get a great interest rate in 2021, and it was before the interest rates have started rising as they are now. And all of that information, you would want to go and talk with your local banker or talk to somebody that you trust about what kinds of funding sources are out there for you and everything like that. And I did in 2022, then after renovations, we opened in January of 2022 when our location received the Historic Preservation Award from the city of Muscatine, which is really cool. Being an interior designer, that's great for me, but it's also great for our community to be able to showcase it. So the next phase of building out this building, now that we own it, is to renovate the second and third floors for apartments. They were old apartments prior to me buying it. They are just vacant as of now, but we are hoping to, in the next few years, work out some more grant money and get those renovated so that we have more living space for our community. Next. So what are some of the benefits of renting to owning, right? That's basically what we've been talking about this whole time. And I would say that renting is very safe. We did it for a long time. We rented our business was absolutely fine staying where it was with renting. We could have stayed there even longer than we did. I think it's a smart move for people that are new to a business or new entrepreneurs have never owned a business before to rent. Rent is safe. You can do leases, you can negotiate your leases, you can do all of that sort of stuff with your landlords, and your rent can stay stable for however long your lease is. So I think that's a great move for new businesses. Owning, however, is very empowering and freeing. That is why it was the dream of mine to own, because I wanted to have more control and more say over my own business. So some of the criterias that I think you have to have in order to own your own brick and mortar store are the following. A lot of these were also passed along to me from my banker. He did tell me that these were some of the criterias they look at for lending. So you need to have a decent business plan with projections. And you need to have a business that's a niche business, similar to what ours is. It's a demand in our city. It was something that was needed, something that wasn't here already. And if you are already an established business, then you have to have strong past performance data, bookkeeping in order to secure traditional financing so that they can look at what your projections will be. You also must have a good relationship with your financial institution. So you have to be a good borrower. You have to not have a lot of debt. You have to have a good credit score in order to be able to secure traditional financial financing. The biggest thing that I think I have heard, not only from my personal lender, but also from any business owner, is that when you take the leap to owning your own building, you have to be able to want to grow your business and work at it 24/7, because it's not easy. We work every day, even though we don't want to. You do. People get to know your phone number. They get to know where you live and what your availability is. And unfortunately, there is a little stigma for business owners that you have to be available 24/7 to clients. So nobody gets a day off, right? You don't get a vacation. And you have to be able to willing to maintain your business as far as the structure. That's another thing to think about when you're trying to make that leap. There will be always brickwork or exterior work, or maybe there's, interior work that you need to keep doing. Maybe you need a new furnace, maybe you need new windows. There's always a lot to maintain when you own a building that if you rented, you wouldn't have to do because your landlord has to do it. So you have to be able to take the risks that come along with owning. And you have to have a lot of family support and community support. Your community is going to be the one that makes your business grow. And you have to be a great customer service representative to all of your clients. So go ahead. So I looked at some of the funding sources besides traditional loans. You can go to SBA.gov and you can look at all of the different information that they have out there for different funding sources, depending on what your business is and what you qualify for. The Small Business Administration has a lot of useful tools. I looked at it quite a bit, and I still do to this day, because like I said, I still have a couple floors that I want to renovate in my building and do things with. And we all have questions as small business owners. We all want to make sure that we're making the right choices and the right decisions and spending our money wisely, and being able to give back to our community. So they have a lot of useful resources. Your local city governments have a lot of funding sources as well. There's a lot of grants and loans that you can look into and apply for. And so that is definitely worth looking onto their websites or talking to someone in person. Your local Chamber of Commerce is also a great resource. Our local Chamber of Commerce actually has some microloans and different things like that that you can apply for, just for help with, like, signage and different things like that. Or if you're just opening up, you can get a small microloan for, I believe it's like around $1,000 even, to help you get going, up and going, or pay your first month of rent or whatever it is. There are also state grants that you can look into through your state. And then a lot of things that most small business owners do is we use our personal savings to make our businesses run. So being able to save money, I think, is the key to being able to fund your business. You can't spend it all, because you have to have a buffer and you have to be able to support your expenses and the unexpected expenses that come up that you don't plan for. So the next slide, please. So some of the pillars of success that I've had, and I truly feel that all business owners need to have, is you have to have a niche for your business. I kind of mentioned this earlier. Our business started where we were just, my mom was an upholsterer, and so she loved furniture. And so it started as a furniture store. In our town, there was only one other furniture store at the time, but there was nobody that did upholstery. So she had this niche. And so the community was already coming to our store because of that. And so we built off of that and expanded our business after people started seeing all that we offered. So finding that niche and finding what that is that will make your business successful is key. And then working hard at it. Like, I am involved heavily in our community. I volunteer for a lot of different organizations. I'm on a lot of different boards. And then I am here as many days of the week as I can be. So that is a huge thing. You do have to work. You have to be available to people. And they've got to see that you love it. If they know that you love what you do, they are going to want to work with you and support your business. One of the other things I have always been very proud of is my, a strong financial acumen, being able to know, being able to look at your profit and loss and being able to do all those details and figuring out, okay, if I spend this amount of money on inventory, how much am I going to need for payroll and all this other stuff. So if that's not your forte, make sure that you have a really good accountant or somebody that you can rely upon strongly to talk you through all those steps of your business, because that's huge. And then when you go to purchase a building, you are definitely going to want to make sure that those people are on board, not only a lawyer, your banker, but your accountant, so that you can talk through all of those steps of purchasing a building. And then my fourth one is always retiring debt quickly. And I did mention that I have an aggressive goal, because I want to make sure that I have more cash flow and don't owe people any money. So that's kind of the keys of success for being an entrepreneur and owning your own business. So with that.
Well, thank you, Alyshea. I think we've all kind of picked up a few things today that we can take into our goals of operating out of a brick and mortar storefront. I want to thank Alyshea for being here with us today and sharing her experiences and everything that she knows about that process. Her contact information is here. Please, please, please come see what she has here in her store, Feather Your Nest Interiors in Muscatine. She's got a lot of great stuff. She's doing a lot of great things for the city of Muscatine. So again, thank you, Alyshea, for being here. And please, this recording will be available on the Iowa Center website. I believe TJ's thrown up the information for that. So I just want to thank you all again for being here, and have a great day.
Thank you.